Good morning. Some days it doesn't want to blur my background, and some days it has no problem. So share my screen. Good morning. Good morning. Let me get myself together here. Hello, gorgeous people. Do you guys have like a whole way that you set up your Zooms and your calls and things? Like I've got my portion of my screen so you guys can see the itinerary. Then I've got my 3 pictures of everybody. So it looks like I'm looking at the camera. And then I've got my meeting chat. And then today's product we're going to talk about in a little bit is going to be our snack bites. So I made sure to get one for show and tell. And then some days I like to have a couple of like social shareables. I don't think I have one handy today in particular, so we'll just use the one in my hand. So we'll give it another minute or two. Does anybody have any wins or anything exciting going on that they want to share?
I do. I'm doing cardio.
Hey, you know what? You asking about the ISO-Delights. I just did a CEU, like a continuing education course on superfoods, and through my ISSA cert. And it was talking about cacao. And that's a little bit different than like, the cocoa powder, like hot cocoa. And then I was reading something completely separate talking about the benefits of dark chocolate. And so it really got me thinking, like, my gal yesterday said that she didn't like the ISO-Delights. Like she ate a bunch, but she still has a bunch of dark chocolate ones left. And I was like, girl, those are like golden. If you don't want them, send them to me. And so I might have some of those, but I was thinking too, I was like, you know what? I used to have this grocery store at one of my old duty stations that had this beautiful array of like dark chocolate. And like when I treat myself, I'd go and like pick different ones. And now I do like variety. I don't just like the 80% bitter, nasty dark chocolate. I like to have dark chocolate with sea salt or dark chocolate with like cashews or like, something in it to give it like some oomph. And another thing that I was reading lately was how you really need to, because of our chi and our energy in our body, you need to be having your like biggest meal and breakfast at 8 a.m. And I have been juicing, and doing other things, but typically I'm doing them in later day and evening. And I was thinking, I was like, I've got my shake, like it's 8 a.m. here. But I think that I need to be planning, things like dark chocolate right after this, and things like, my juicing I probably need to do earlier in the day so that I have more time to like burn off. It's all good carbs, but I know seriously eating my shake this early is hard. I feel full in the morning. Like, but according to Chinese medicine, our chi and our energy, the hour of our stomach is 8 a.m. It's interesting, right? I don't know. Maybe we could do I still feel like I don't know much about chi and energy, but it's like it keeps showing up in my feed and people around me. So I'm kind of like, interesting. So yeah, any other wins or anything you guys want to share? I'm going to go ahead and put the invite link in our chat just in case anybody wants to. Oh, Gabby already did. No? Let's see. Just put it in that one. Put it on Unstoppable Leaders. Okay. Let's see. I'll share. I have been getting my chiropractor and my massage therapist covered by the VA finally. And so The first time that I went to this new chiropractor, I was sore and my neck was like killing me for a week. And so the massage therapist got her tiny little fingers in like all of my little neck crevices and like loosened everything up. So I've been feeling a different kind of detox lately, and can be a little bit of a TMI, but like it's detoxing through my armpits. And so there are two different kinds of sweat. One is like when you're hot or exercising, and one is like when you're nervous, and they're two different glands. And the nervous sweats have been like killing me now for a couple of years. And like, I'm not like visibly like biting my nails, like nervous, like I'm going to go stand on a stage, but it's just like when I have a lot of stuff going on. And so when that happens, the detox sweat that comes through that is not pleasant. So I've been on a deodorant journey for many years. Maybe one day we can talk about my deodorant journey. But I like, it took me a couple of days to put two together with like all of the crap that I was holding in my tight muscles in my neck and shoulders. Like, it's got to go somewhere. And so when you detox and you flush out the stuff that's holding into your muscles and your fat and all these other things, like think of the exit pathways in our body. We have number one and number two. We have sweat, we have breathing, we have mucus, we have earwax, we have discharge. Like, I mean, there's multiple ways that your body is going to get rid of junk. And so sometimes like you can recognize, we had somebody recently that asked like, hey, has anybody ever heard of anybody breaking out after starting the collagen? And yeah, it happened to some people. And the reason why is because it is cleaning out and repairing your gut lining. And so sometimes it comes out through your skin and not the obvious way, like through your stool. And so as it's repairing from the inside out, it's got to get those impurities out. So sometimes like things get a little bit worse before they get better. I've been talking to Noah about his physical therapy. I'm like, it might hurt before it gets better, bud. Like just recognize when it's like wrong, like this is not good versus like, okay, we're working through this. There's a difference between like general muscle soreness and pain. And so recognizing your version of pain, because it's always going to be better with me. Yeah. I've been to physical therapy a couple of times, and like the first couple sessions are always just like, oh, because it has to build those muscles back up, all the supportive muscles around the area that's in question. And so I feel like we got like multiple little topics in there right there. But since I know Gabby's working out and Lisa's got some stuff going on right there. Oh, here comes Elaine. We'll kind of jump in. Today I am going to just kind of share another side of my story that isn't always something that I talk about and share. And it's really more about the upbringing in diet culture and the ups and downs that I have been through since we're talking about calories today. And so if you don't know me, I'm Sadie Tolberg. I am a lot of things. I'm a registered nurse right now. I'm working at a military mental health clinic as the outreach director. I am an Army veteran. I'm an Army spouse. I'm a mom of 2 kids. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a weight management specialist. Lately, I've been looking at other careers. I'm just like all kinds of things. I'm also a scuba instructor, but and in a double Aries and a redhead and an Enneagram 8. So partridge and a pear tree. Anyway, I was first told that I was fat when I was in 4th grade. And this was a year that was particularly hard for me. There was things that were happening in my life that were a secret and not allowed to tell anybody about. Another story for another day, but it affected my overall body and self-esteem. So I started putting on weight, and kids in class started noticing. And I remember feeling like my clothes were always tight. And I look back at those pictures and I just looked like a little bit of a more full child, nothing too scary or anything like that. But that was when it was first introduced to me that I was bigger than the other kids. And fast forward to middle school, I had notes in my locker calling me fat. I had no other reaction than like immediate tears, immediate, this is the worst thing ever. And so that just made me more of a target. And so I started with the diet culture at about age 13, which is pretty normal. What I'm understanding from us, 80s and 90s babies. And it was the Slim Fast commercials, and it was the salads, and it was the low fat, low carb. And so that was this type of stuff that I was starting to ask my parents to buy, because, I wasn't grocery shopping. And of course they didn't. But anytime that I was at somebody else's house and they had a Slim Fast in the fridge or things like that, I was curious, like, do you think I could have one? All these different things. And then aging up into high school, that's when everything got worse, right? I mean, high school is when you are so hyper aware of what everybody else is saying. And I was in theater. And so I did get a little bit of physical exercise because of the dance and the movement in musicals and things like that. But at around 11th grade, when I could drive and when I had a job and things like that, I started buying diet pills. And this was when I experimented with being a vegetarian for a while, which basically meant that I was eating chips and like potatoes and fries and things instead of vegetables, because I never cared for vegetables. And so I was really one of those people that did it for the attention and, like trying to look good and fit in with whatever cool kids that I thought were cool at that time. And so really kind of messed me up. And I really feel like it affected my self-esteem worse and just lots of things. But good news, senior year, I finally got a boyfriend, which to me in my mind was like all that mattered. Like that was okay, guys, somebody finds me attractive enough to, connect to me in that level. And so that was the first time that I really just kind of like didn't care and lived my life and whatever. It was totally fine. Moving on to the next year, my first year at college before I joined the Army, I was for the first time buying all of my food on my own or going to, the school's cafeteria, eating all of my own. And I was completely unsupervised. I gained the most weight. I was about 180 and I'm 5'2". And I would go from like barely eating anything to, my fridge was stacked with just pure junk food. And it was such a terrible year for my health. I had poor skin, I had poor gut health, I had poor everything. Then I got this bright idea to join the military. So in basic training, I lost 30 pounds, but I didn't learn any sort of relationship with food, how to eat food. The only reason why I lost that weight is because I was being forced to exercise every day and I could only eat what they gave me. And so when I left basic training, then it was like a free for all again. And so I went through roller coaster, roller coaster, roller coaster. Just to summarize, since then, I have counted every calorie that I've put in my body at certain times. I have counted every macro, everything down to, exactly how much oil I was putting into the pan before I fried up whatever. And it is extremely exhausting. Stress plays a huge factor on how you hold on to fat. And so I would be counting every morsel and eating low calories and all of these things and wouldn't move a pound. And it baffled personal trainers. It baffled, different people that I would talk to about this. And it really goes back to the hormones and how my body was not adapting to the stress. My cortisol was out of whack. I probably had some insulin resistance, like all of these different things. And so sharing that side of my story, it is almost like a PTSD when it comes to thinking about having to track calories. I used MyFitnessPal. I think I looked at it the other day. I've been a member since like 2007 or something like that. So I've been on MyFitnessPal for a really long time. And then even before that, I remember using Calorie King. I don't know if you guys remember that website, but there are so many different ways. And so there are times when I feel like I want to count certain nutrients, which is a good thing. You should know how much fiber you have in a day. You should watch how much sugar intake if you're concerned about retention or sodium. If you have other different comorbidities and things like that, there's different nutrients that you should watch out for. But when you have had, 25 years of diet culture being shoved down your throat and all of these different things, it can be really hard to even do little simple things. And so talking today about, are calories still a thing? If you look into the science, the obesity medicine doctors, if you look into the latest and greatest understandings of what we were once told is 2,000 calories is the average of what we should eat, and how many people had that seared into their brain, that has now been completely squashed. Even the idea of like the different macro percentages that we should all follow is going to be different human by human. And so there are general guidelines that we can all follow, but it's more in the nutrient based versus calorie based. You cannot convince me that eating 2,000 calories of broccoli a day and eating 2,000 calories of Snicker bars in a day is the same thing. Life and weight and health is not calories in, calories out. There is that is a fact. And so there are still influencers, there are still people that are, nutrition coaches and different things like that have a good solid education backed that try to promote calories in, calories out. It is one way to measure what you're putting into your body, but it is not the only way, and it's not the most effective way, especially for people who have been chronically obese for any amount of time. That is your body, your whole chemical makeup, your hormones, the way that you respond to everything has changed. And that needs to be addressed first before you start looking at how many calories is this person getting in. We've all seen, I don't know if everybody ever used to watch this show, but like My 600-Pound Life, we've all heard of it. We've all know that it exists, right? Those people, they would show them eating an entire, table full of food for a meal. Could you imagine if that entire table was full of, raw fruits and vegetables, lean meat and protein, good, healthy grains, nutrient dense food, but it was the same amount of calories? First of all, it'd be way more food, because 2,000 calories of broccoli in grams is way more than 2,000 calories in Snickers. So there would be way more food because the amount of calories in whole foods and lean protein is much higher. So you would have all of this stuff, but do you think that would still cause this person to gain weight, stay the same, or lose weight? That is the question. So why I get so passionate and why I love talking about calories and weight loss and health and all of these things is because there is so much misinformation out there. And I've read books that promote grain-free lifestyle. I've read books that promote veganism. I've read books that promote that all beans and legumes are the devil and the worst thing you can do to yourself. I've read about the Western medicine and how the obesity paradox and how medication is what's killing us and all of these different things. And the one factor that is the same across the board everywhere is that we need to be eating fruits and vegetables that are more closer to earth than anything. Now, we've talked about this a couple of times. One of the reasons why, we make the shakes the way that we do is because, say there's a farm in Mexico and they are packaging up all of their all of their fruits and vegetables to be shipped to the northern United States. They're put in this truck. they're frozen, they're unfrozen, they're put in a plane, they're put in here, they're put in there, they're packaged, they're sprayed with preservatives and, pesticides and all of these different things to keep them from going bad. The average time that it takes for something to get from a warmer climate to a northern colder climate is 6 days. Do you think that those fruits and vegetables are losing something in those 6 days? Absolutely. Even if you live somewhere warm and it doesn't have to go as far, it's still being exposed to all of the elements and it's losing a lot of the nutrients. So can we all have a garden in our backyard or in our basement or whatever? Like, no, we have to do with what we can. And so buying things that are in season, buying locally if you can, buying things that are picked and frozen at their peak performance of their lifestyle. So frozen fruits and vegetables are great. The argument with canned fruits and vegetables is that they do have to add a lot to keep them in the can. And so if that's your only option, go for it. But just remember that like canned green beans are going to have more sodium. You can buy the ones with less sodium, but just keep that in mind. Try to go frozen if you can. Canned is not the worst in the world. But like I said, everything that is agreed upon everywhere is that you want to be eating as natural as you can. There are still going to be controversy for the end of time about meat. There's always going to be controversy till the end of time about dairy, about grains, about certain food groups. And it's because some of our population can't tolerate each food group. So does that mean that everybody can't tolerate that food group? No, but there's certain facts about each food group that are what they are. In general, people in America have more sugar than they should. In general. That doesn't mean that some people can't have more than others and still be absolutely fine. Some people will never get diabetes. 1 in 3 people right now are getting diabetes in their lifetime. 1 in 3. How many people are in your household right now? That is terrifying for me. That number dramatically decreases if you cut out the processed foods and you put more fruits and vegetables into your body. So I love statistics and facts. Some people don't. I want to talk in layman's terms. I want this to be understandable, relatable, things like that. And so why don't we, I've been talking for way longer than I should because I get so passionate. So why don't we go around the room and everybody has some stuff that they want to share, and then we'll close out with our product. And I just have a very quick assignment, and then we'll call it a day. Yes, Gabby.
Can you guys see me okay? Because I don't get to see myself in the thing. Okay, you can see me. Yeah, this was so good. And Sadie, you're on such a roll. Like, I don't want to interrupt anything. I know we're like crushing time here, but I just love how you talked about from your childhood, sharing a little bit about how like it's so important, especially having a daughter myself. And I know you have a daughter. A lot of us have little girls at home, and it's like we have to set a good example of what healthy looks like and not skinny. And I think that's so important because I have something like a very similar upbringing to you. And when I look at, we didn't even have a middle school. I never went to middle school. You were in elementary until 7th grade, and then 8th grade was high school. So this whole like middle ground of like finding yourself never really happened for us. But when I look back, and of course I wouldn't be able to change anything that I did because I love the life and my husband and the life that we have together and our kiddos. But when I look back, little like fun fact, like I married my first high school boyfriend because I didn't think that I was worthy enough to have anything better or pretty enough. And I settled and I compromised on values and things that were not in alignment. When I look back, it's so embarrassing. Whereas sometimes I think, man, if I was raised with a little more like self-worth and belief in myself, I know I wouldn't have settled for something else. So I know when we talk about nutrition and food and calories, like it's such a little thing, like the tip of the iceberg. But when you look at foundationally how things like what you put in your body as a household, the foundation of your nutrition, it does matter. And it truly determines the trajectory of your life and where you go when your kids grow up and their self-worth and their belief. And if they're feeling good on the inside, that's going to show how they look on the outside. So that's just so important. And then I just wanted to touch base on too, because I've gone through so many different, same way, like diet culture, my fitness pal, all of the things. I don't like my fitness pal because it didn't break down like the phytonutrient like the Chrometer does. And that one I really like, but and I think it all is about the phase of life that you're in. And I think it's okay that it changes. I have gone from losing 40 pounds to gaining muscle to pregnancy and nursing to weight loss again to building muscle again. And now for me, it's all about energy. Our shakes, I think, are like so simple when it comes to getting in those phytonutrients because, like, I don't have the time. I'm not going to make breakfast in the morning. Our kids will have a shake or they'll have waffles and berries. But just like kids, for yourself, they say the best thing you can do. I always have people ask, oh my gosh, Ellie eats so many. She loves sprouts. She loves arugula. She loves salads. And it's because we offer it with every meal. And then we have a no thank you pile. So it's okay to try new things and get in those. And then if you don't like them, it's like, okay, just try it once. And if you don't like it, put it in your no thank you pile. But then for you, because there are people that, we look at culture, it will always be changing. There will always be a new healthy diet. There will always be research and people telling you to cut out these food groups or only have this type of sugar or this type of carbs or this amount of protein and all these different things. It's so important for you to be in tune with your body so that because it's totally fine, I think. And I follow like Jessie Lee for this because she doesn't have vegetables. She's like, her body is allergic and she tried them for many years and now she's cut them out because her body just doesn't react well to them. That's just an example of, like, for me, there's certain carbs where my stomach just hurts. Doesn't matter how organic or clean it is. It's not the best way for me to fuel my body. So I just don't have those and I feel really good. So I just want to encourage you guys, like, look at your phase of life that you're in and don't compare if you're in a weight loss journey to someone else's muscle building journey. Or if you're working on, like me, my biggest issue now is actually getting in enough calories and getting in enough fiber and getting in enough protein, because anyone who jumps on a 30-day system with Isagenix and you're doing your 2 shakes a day and your 1 meat meal, odds are you are not getting enough calories. And even though we have fiber, like, you need 35 grams, there's only 6 in our shakes. So even with your 2 shakes, you're not even halfway there. And then that 1 main meal, you can only absorb so much. So for me, it's like getting in some healthy nuts during the day and healthy snacks. So my struggle, well, for someone else, it might be not keeping a bag of chips in their home. For me, it's getting in the healthy snack. So we all have, like, there's a devil at every level. Set the phase, or a different devil, another devil at every level. So there is no like, oh, I've arrived and my body's perfect now. Even the girl that you see, her body looks perfect, she has a different type of struggle. So I just wanted to share that with you guys to encourage you no matter what stage of life you're in.
I love that. I just put in the chat a little bit about fiber. That is it's one of the nutrients that I just suggest that you do keep track of to see where you're at. I was talking to my cousin the other day and she's like, I think I only get like 12 in a day. And it's so important in our well-being and taking a look at, how much is in our shakes. I think the whole blend has 8. And then I also do the Fiber Pro, which is only 5. But the good thing about the whole blend and the Fiber Pro is that it's a mix of soluble and insoluble. And so one of them is water-based and one of them isn't. And so when you think about our body, we are made up of water, but what does fat do in water? Like, it's hydrophobic. And so, which means that it is, I'll have to look in the Isoline Pro because we don't typically buy that one, but now I'm interested in figuring it out. And so the fat in our body doesn't like water. And so when you are working on putting fiber into your body, you want the fiber loving or fat loving fiber to help flush some of that out as well. And so just some interesting fun facts. And, some days we do go over our time and, we always stay on for an extra 30 minutes. And so give or take, unless anybody, has to get off or whatever. But real quick, we're just going to talk briefly today about our product of the day, which is our snack bites. And so these are just a nice little option. They are cleanse day approved, but you can have them anytime. What I really like the most about them is not only do they taste good, but they're dense, which means that they like actually satisfy and feel good. Have you ever had the like sandwich bag or like kids lunch size Doritos or chips and you're like, wow, I could go for another one? Have you ever gone in and like grabbed something and felt like this apple didn't quite do it enough for me? This is one of those snacks that just like hit the spot. And we've got a couple of different versions. We first came out with the peanut butter. That one does have dairy in it. And then we have a seasonal one that comes and goes. That's like a chocolate peanut butter walnut or chocolate brownie walnut. and that one is delicious. And then these cinnamon roll ones came out, and these are just so good. I've heard people say that, you know, it reminds them of Christmas morning. It's not overpowering. It's not crazy sweet. Of course, like you don't have the frosting, but like it gives you the feeling of like, this feels like a cinnamon roll. So, I am a big fan. I try to always have some in my house. It's hard. They only come in like what, boxes of 8 or 10. And so like sometimes I feel like we're just flying through them. And then the other times I'm like, oh, I forgot I had those here, you know, and I kind of hide them from myself. But I always keep one in my purse just in case I want to share it with somebody, or I'm stuck in line somewhere, or I'm, you know, not going to be able to get to dinner until later, things like that. And so we have a couple of different snacks. Now, they're not everybody's palate. And I think that's just important to say. Our other, you know, chips and things like that, some people are like, this is not my cup of tea. That's totally okay. Give them a try, see what you think. Yeah. And so the assignment, if you got to go, Gabby, you got to go. But our assignment for the week is to start looking at the ingredients and pick one nutrient that you want to focus on, whether it's fiber, whether it's sugar, whether it's sodium, whether it's a vitamin, whether it is protein or carbs. But please don't look at the calories. Please ignore the calories for now. I'm not saying that's something that you have to just willy-nilly. Even if you grab a Snickers bar, what nutrient are you getting that makes sense for you and your goals? Don't beat yourself up. Don't look at the calories. Pick one thing that has to do with your individual goals. If you're on a weight loss journey, if you're on a gut health journey, if you're on an energy journey, if you are on a health journey, whatever the case may be, we're all going somewhere. Learn about the different types of things you should pay attention to. Maybe you want to lower your cholesterol. Maybe you want to lower blood pressure, things like that. Maybe, you know, you just feel like what you're eating isn't serving you. And so we can talk about, any one of us is happy here to help you go through some sort of I hate the word elimination, but a process of trying to identify the foods that serve you and don't serve you. And that does require taking a few things out and analyzing, how do I feel? If I don't have this thing this week, how do I feel? No, don't take away the things you love. Start with the things that you're just like, about. Whatever. And we'll see what your body does. Sometimes it takes a while, but it really is a game changer if you can identify that, like, wow, I can do most dairy, but not all, because you did an experiment to find out which ones feel good and which ones don't. I haven't done dairy in a couple of years, but every once in a while, you know, I'll just have something without even looking. I don't even know. Maybe there's eggs in it. I don't know. I had a croissant yesterday. I have no idea what was in that croissant. And so I recognized how I felt. And somebody recently told me, or kind of asked if I'd ever tried goat milk. And I was like, well, I think probably. And they were like, that has more nutrients. It's better for you, things like that. So who knows? We'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share of our itinerary here. And I'm going to stop the recording part of it. But this is the